Welcome to Chompin'. My name is Sophie Delaney.
My name's Jess Euler.
And we're joined today by
Eva Vives.
Hello, Eva.
Eva is a writer and director. Honestly, kind of new friends. Can I say that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah,
And I'm excited that you're here today. We're really going to get to know you.
fundamentally.
I'm excited to be here, and then we'll see if you still want to be my friend after this.
I think already
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
How you came in, I'm saying
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Even the awareness of the question or the prompt speaks volumes.
We're being bold.
Yes.
I don't usually do this, but here I am.
Oh, I love
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
We're breaking barriers
Yeah.
left and right. Well, thank you for doing the podcast. And
Thank you
this-
for having me.
Of course, and this is the podcast where we interview our friends to learn more about them based on the media that they consume. And we start every podcast by asking, where did you grow up?
I grew up mostly in Barcelona, Spain.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was born in Madrid, but moved to Barcelona when I was little, and I grew up mostly there. And then my parents did me the disservice of moving to Germany when I was about 13,
Wow.
which is like the worst age.
I
Yeah.
will say 13's tough. To go to Germany, that's
Yeah.
tough.
So then I grew up there until I was 18 and then moved to New York.
Wow.
When did you move to New York? Oh, when you were 18, you said?
Yeah, so here we go. Now we'll know exactly how old I am. No, I moved to New York in 94, which was a great
Oh, yeah.
year. And, you know, the 90s, I spend mostly in New York, and I flex about that a lot at USC when I teach the kids now because they're all in love with the 90s. And I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, I was in New York.
I just listened to Mark Ronson's audiobook.
Yeah.
Did you?
I haven't heard it yet.
It's
no,
just
but
about being a DJ in the 90s in New York. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
Literally a time
Yeah.
to be alive. I do
Totally.
feel like that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good time. I had been to New York a little bit before in the 80s visiting and stuff, so I
Mhm.
kind of knew it and loved it. And then once I knew I wanted to study film and found out about NYU, I was like, this is where. Also, I was, you know, fleeing home to
Yeah.
be totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And New York was, I mean, I hope it's still like that. It just feels like you know, you went there and saw all sorts of people that were also fleeing home for
Right.
whatever
A
reason.
place to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were all meeting there. But it was I thought it was a great time. And there was a lot I didn't understand. It took me a long time to, you know, speaking of consuming things, pop culture, all sorts
Yeah.
of stuff, like the rap wars were happening.
Yeah.
I was like, what, West Coast, you know, Tupac, Biggie, like we had a
Mhm.
lot to learn.
Yeah.
But it
That's
was fun.
honestly crazy because that is something that, like, I don't know. Like, I remember watching on the TV. Sorry to do this, guys. I remember. I'm so
What?
sorry what I'm about
Why?
to do. I remember watching on the TV Princess Diana passing
Oh,
away.
yeah.
Yeah.
And being like, knowing in that moment that was going to be a thing, like, for
Mhm.
years. Like, where
Mhm.
people were like, and I bet that's a similar thing of being like, oh, the rap wars of it all.
Remember, I also
Yes.
remember being in New York when she passed, and I was and continue to be fairly anti-royalist. I
Mhm.
think
Oh,
just
yeah.
because I'm from Spain.
Yeah.
But my friend Anthony, who was a sweetheart, was so distraught by her death, and I kind of wanted to be like, "The fuck's the matter with you?"
Right.
But I could also see he was really upset. So, but I remember where I was when he told me.
Yeah.
And yeah, New York in the '90s, same thing. That what year was that? Like 90?
I don't even know.
97, 96, yeah,
Yeah.
something around there. So we ask this next question can pertain to whatever time is most vividly, but we
Mhm.
ask how many TVs were in your house growing up?
Yeah, such a great question. I had no TVs growing up.
Okay, so up
Okay,
until
huge.
New York.
Up until New York, and even then it took me a long time. It wasn't really until I moved into an apartment with my now husband,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought his tiny TV from his family home. And it wasn't until I got my first paycheck that I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a big fucking TV because
Yeah.
we're both filmmakers and we've been watching things in this tiny television.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, beautiful image.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Two filmmakers watching a tiny
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
Coming back with a huge TV
I
down the
know.
street.
And actually, when we moved, so we were in a rent stabilized apartment for a long time, which
Mhm.
is also partly what allowed us to continue being filmmakers.
Yeah.
But it was tiny, like most places tend to be in New York. So our TV was in the bedroom because there was nowhere else to
Totally.
put it.
Yeah.
And so we always watched everything in the bed, which
Mhm.
I just feel like the bed was like the center of life for everything, you know? It wasn't just sleeping and having sex and all that. It was like we're watching TV, we were eating, we were having conversations,
Absolutely.
everything. And then people would come to watch a movie and we would all pile in
Of
on the
course.
bed and like watch it together.
Cozy. Other than like TV and stuff like that, what were like kind of popular things growing up that you were consuming, even if it's like in a movie theater or like?
Yeah. I mean, I think I have a lot of gripes with my parents, but not having any TV is actually not one
Right.
of them. I mean, I don't know know that I felt that way as a kid
Mm-hmm.
because it was really interesting what happened. That like in Spain, when I was a kid, I remember, and I've asked Americans this before, and I don't think that series V was as big here as it
I
was
don't
in
think
Europe.
so.
Do you guys
Yeah.
remember V?
No.
See,
No.
no one here. You ask any Spanish person, and they're like, "Ube." We call it ube. I haven't seen it since then, but it was about a race of aliens that are lizards that come and take
Obsessed.
over the Earth, but they manage to look like humans.
Okay.
But
I
then,
feel like I've heard this tale before.
honestly, I should watch it again. I have like looked up little clips and stuff because in the moment of reveal, they would like take off their mask and then they were lizards and they would eat, I think, either rats or hamsters or something like that.
The hamsters I bet it was rats.
Yeah. And their mouths would go, whoa.
In this
like
world, hamsters everywhere. Crawling.
I
with
just
them.
go, to do it, hamster is such a choice.
Yeah, hamster big too. Not that rats aren't.
This show was fucking huge in Spain.
Whoa.
And so what would happen is that like I was either in second or third grade and I would go to school and everybody was like talking about what happened. I still remember they came out every Thursday afternoon or night. So like everyone, it was like The Sopranos later in the 90s or
Yeah.
something. Like everybody would go watch it. And so I knew it was happening, but I couldn't watch it. And so I would like wait, Friday mornings, I'd be like, what happened?
Yeah.
And then they would tell me, like my friends would tell me, Julie did this. And so I only remember Julie. There was like a blonde girl and a dark-haired girl. Because the dark-haired girl was like the mean one and whatever. I don't remember much else. But I finally got to see one episode once when I was over at a friend's house. And I was like, it was so much better than even I had ever
It
imagined.
it exceeded your expectations.
It was amazing back then. I haven't seen it since. So that was, it was like kind of an interesting dynamic. I got a lot of questions. Why don't you have a TV? Because also, you got to remember like Spain was coming out of a dictatorship. It was a huge transition moment. So like consumerism in the 80s was just starting and perhaps even more so there. So it was really weird that we didn't have one. My parents were artists and I think a part of them, they were just like, no, thank you. So as a result, I read a ton.
Oh, cool.
And then also my mom, who I really like credit with a lot of my love of film, she would take me to a place called La Filmoteca, which is kind of like the Cinematheque. I guess there's not really an equivalent in the States, is there?
I don't think so.
It's like a state-sponsored cinema that, but it's they don't play new movies. They
Classics.
Yeah, program it. And now I realize they really had great programmers. So it would be like, I don't know, a week of Howard Hawks. It would be like The Americans,
Yeah.
or and then it would be like The Italians. It was very director driven actually. And so my mom, I mean, again, now the things you realize as an adult, I was like, she probably was so exhausted and was like, I mean, she loved movies, but
But
she
it's like
also
2
was
hours.
like, let's go to the
Yeah.
movies. And I'd be like, great. And, they really had no filter. Like, they showed me everything. I don't ever remember them. Like, they took me to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show when I was,
Cool.
tiny. The Godfather when I was 6. I mean, I probably saw Heat really early on as well. Like, they were just like, whatever, figure it out. And it wasn't like now where, at least, with my son, I try to have conversations if we're going to watch something that I think is interesting. But, of course, a lot of conversations about how women are portrayed and homosexuality, all of that stuff. He's so ahead of all of this. I mean, I think that whole generation really is. Like, he's like, I know, Mom.
Right.
And he'll point it out. He's like, that's sexist. I'm like, that's right, it is. I wish
Or
we
like,
didn't.
that's nothing.
Yeah. Just wait. But my parents were just like, whatever, figure it out.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, most of my film education was there, and I really saw so many great films, and it was all on film on 35.
Yeah.
I remember,
Wow, that's
I remember a lot
crazy.
of the stuff like breaking or burning, or like a hole would burn, and then you would have to sit there and
Oh,
wait,
like the cigarette burns or whatever.
or just know the
Oh, like the whole
bulb
reel.
gets too hot,
Whoa.
or the film is old. It gets all scratched up and it snaps, and then they'd be like, "Come back in 15," and everybody would go out and smoke. And then we
That's
would
so
come back. Yeah,
crazy.
there were also like, I remember one screening of, because Spain had been in that dictatorship, a lot of movies were censored. And actually, new movies took a while for all of that to be established. So like I missed all of the 80s stuff that my generation here really loves, like The Goonies.
Yeah.
And I mean, I saw it later, but we didn't have that in the movie theaters yet. But I remember, for example, Rebel Without a Cause had never played in in Spain because the dictatorship censored all of
Yeah.
that stuff. And so I remember my mom being like, "They're playing it for the first time. Let's go." And as we were walking over to the theater, the line was so long that it was 2 blocks away.
Wait, that's
Like
so cool.
That is
so cool.
cool.
And even cooler was that the theater said, we don't usually do this because usually when it gets sold out, it gets sold out. But there were so many people and such expectations that they just let everybody like sit on the floor. And I remember sitting with my mom on the floor, like just watching it and not quite understanding it. But
Totally.
that image of, the famous James Dean one with the monkey and everything,
Yes.
I was like, what is this?
Especially just the experience too of being like, oh, this thing got everyone to like come and sit on, like pay to sit on the ground to like watch this thing.
Yeah.
And like, how cool.
And cool on your mom to kind of be on the beat of being like, oh, this, like, we should check out this thing.
Yeah.
Like, not like, I don't know. Sometimes parents can kind of be like consumed with their other stuff, but making like having a, I don't know, an area for that. Or
It's
like,
true. That's interesting. And it is interesting how we see them differently as we
I know.
grow because I mean my mom in many ways was all right, and I think because they were both artists that was a big one, like that was their main, that's how they spent time, going to museums, going to the movies. But yeah, they were very, she especially had a very political awareness, and my family is mostly very red in terms of the, that's what we call it in Spain. It's like the people in the Civil War that fought fascism, which also means that we lost the war. And, there was a real sense of sadness and, repression for them growing up. So I think for
Totally.
them to experience that moment, like I experienced it in a very exciting way, but I didn't, at 6 or 7, I didn't have the understanding of it that
Why
I
it was a
would
big
now,
deal.
or
Yeah.
that they surely did, as adults. So I think for her, it was like, I remember that. I remember the first election, I think in 82, it's like no one had been allowed to vote for 40 years.
Whoa.
There was a coup leading up to it. A lot of what's happening here today. Reminds me of
Yeah.
that.
It is so crazy.
Yeah.
and red means something different.
Yeah, I know. That's why you guys were like, what? I'm like, I know. It's different kind of red. It's Euro red.
Euro red.
What was the first or memorable concert or live event you remember going to?
So my parents were friends with a lot of different types of people, and they were friends with a very well-known performer at the time in Barcelona who has passed away, but only about 2 years ago. Her artistic name was Violeta la Burra, which sort of means like Violet the donkey. And
Obsessed.
I love it.
what?
I said obsessed.
She's amazing. And I'm going to use the word that was used at the time, how she described herself, which was as a transvestite. I'm sure, I don't think that's used anymore, right?
I think it depends on who's saying it.
Yeah, it depends.
But that's how she described
Yeah, yeah.
herself. So I just go with that. And she had a really famous like one woman show in Avenida Paralelo, which is where like all the live theaters were, not
Yeah.
the movie theaters. And again, my parents, and bless them, because I'm really glad I saw it, but it was so inappropriate
Yeah.
for a kid. But they were like, Violeta's playing, let's go. And I knew her just from coming to the house and stuff.
Oh, wait, you knew her person? Like, she was around?
She came around a
Oh,
lot. Yeah,
cool.
she was a dancer mostly, and then a singer and a performer, and she became like fairly well known there. I think that was probably the height of it, that she had this one woman show. So we showed up at the theater, and the theater was like, "You can't come in here with this kid." Like I was 5 or 6 or something. And my mom was always like, why?
Right.
Like she, same thing with all the Almodovar movies. She always took me
Yeah.
to see them. And they were like, you can't bring her in. And she'd be like, why not? Like she was very anti-censorship, I think, as a result of that. So she was always like fighting people. Now I think about it, I'm like slightly Karen-ish, but on the right side of things, maybe.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know. She was really upset that they wouldn't let me in to see Violeta. So somehow she went like backstage and got a hold of her. And Violeta loved me. She was always so sweet to me. So she was like, just, bring her. Like, I'll keep her backstage. She can watch the show from here. And they won't fucking know. They wouldn't know. So my parents were like, great, bye, see you later. So I was backstage with
You got
her.
better
Wow.
seats.
And it was, not only could I see the show from the side, but I was like in her little room and seeing like all the wardrobe changes and, all of the stuff. So that had a huge impact on me. Like I just thought it was more the being backstage stuff, because I think I would have loved the show anyway, but it
Seeing
felt
the
like I was
mechanics.
seeing something that I shouldn't have seen. And in a way,
Yeah.
I actually think it did have a big impact on also being a director, like being behind the scenes, so
Right.
to speak, as opposed
Yeah.
to an actor or something like that. And then she gave me this little mirror that night that she used for her makeup that I had for many, many years that I loved. She was really cool. We had a lot of adventures with her, but that show like stuck with me. And for a long time, I had a tape of it that they had made and sold,
Oh,
and I used to know
cool.
the songs and stuff. Yeah, but I don't know where. I
I'm
don't
sure we could find
That's
it.
so cool.
I know she's online. I looked her up a few years ago because I actually was like, I wonder if I could see her again. And she had died like,
Yeah.
she was in her 70s at that
Mhm.
Oh,
point,
yeah.
you know? Yeah.
That's amazing. Did you ever dress up as a character from media, either be it for like a Halloween or like just for fun, or did like anyone from media ever like influence your style, as it were?
Oh, wow. I wasn't very into dress up, so I don't remember that. My cousins and I used to sing a lot of songs like for my grandma at
Mhm.
home, like sort of pretend, whatever, a banana was a microphone. And then in terms of influence of dressing, I mean, later, especially when I went to Germany, I really got into like Blondie and, punk. I was very punky-ish at the time, a lot
Yeah.
of broken stuff and safety pins. And I don't know that I was copying like someone specifically, but definitely all that British,
That
like
aesthetic.
David Bowie, Mark Bolan,
Mm-hmm.
T-Rex, all that stuff was definitely my jam. And
Yeah.
I tried to kind of look like that.
It's a good look.
It's
Honestly,
evergreen, but
evergreen.
it's not easy to pull off.
No,
No,
no.
but I feel like you could. And
Yeah.
you talking about it, I'm like, you
Oh, yeah,
actually, I
you
bet
had
would look
it.
cool with a couple safety pins.
Yeah, fully.
Whether it was whether I look cool or not, I did it.
Yeah.
And I also got a lot of shit for it at school. You know how that is. It was
Yeah.
like the New Kids on the Block era. So I was
Yeah.
definitely not.
You're sticking out a little
yeah.
Yeah.
Growing up, did you, in whatever room this makes you think of, did you like, how were we decorating our room? Did we make choices? Did we put up posters? Did we like
God, these are
paint?
such good. It's so visceral, all of this stuff.
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
I know
right?
that's why. Is that why you do it? Is that why, like, you're interested in hearing other people's?
It's
or
like
is it
that
just-
thing where it's like these cities like New York or like LA that like pull you into like being a part of this world.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it all started from somewhere. And it's like, even like hearing a story like that, I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's like a piece of why like you're doing this like work.
Yeah. Yeah. My room in Germany, I felt was like the first time I sort of had more of a say. And again, God bless my mom for, she was like, whatever mess you want to, you can keep it in, as long as you keep it in your room.
Yeah.
She didn't make me like clean up or anything like that. So I've always been pretty messy, not dirty, but messy. Like I like cleaning and changing
This
my
is
sheets.
real. This is real. I do the same distinction. I
Thank
say
you.
I'm messy. I am not dirty.
Yeah, like I need clean sheets,
Of
clean
course.
towels.
Yes.
Please.
Everything is clean, but I like having piles of things.
Piles
and
is real.
You love a
Yeah,
pile.
I do love a pile.
I don't always love a pile, but
I love my
feel
piles.
like yes, certain ones are there. But also, doesn't it feel comfortable to, like, I have a lot of piles of books around like
Yes.
my bed, even now and stuff, and it just feels comforting. Like
Yeah.
I'm wake up or I'm going to sleep, or I'm looking at yours as
Yeah.
well, and I'm like, yeah, Mike Nichols, he's great.
We
you
love
know,
Mike
like
Nichols.
It's
yeah.
also there's reason to the chaos where I'm like, oh, these are books I've recently bought that I have to read. Like my piles mean things, but you sometimes
Point.
you only see them as piles sometimes.
By the way, my husband and I have the same argument. Like he is a minimalist
Mm-hmm.
and hates piles, doesn't keep them, whatever. And I'm sort of the opposite. I'm a maximalist.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I think that room was kind of the beginning of that.
Mhm.
I did put up, I always like to put up a lot of things. And it's usually, I mean, like I guess most of us, people who I admire.
Yeah.
But, I was in a very dark place, I suppose, as a lot of teenagers are. But also, because when we moved to Germany, my father started abusing me. So I really do think that a lot of what, I mean, now I kind of laugh, but it was like, just a lot of really dark, like it wouldn't have been the picture where like Marilyn looked, glamorous and
Right.
Yeah.
beautiful. It was like the one where she had no makeup on and clearly looked like she was depressed. Because I think that's what I was like, I love Marilyn. And also that's the picture that I'm picking.
Yeah, and
You
it's
know?
also like, oh, this is just as much her as the one of her with
Yeah.
the makeup and the
Right.
dress.
100%. It's almost
Yeah.
probably more,
Yeah.
the reality.
Yeah, I don't think I had that realization then. I'm saying
Sure,
that now,
yeah.
but it's there's that. There was like a photograph of like an atomic explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of stuff like that. The pistols, like a lot of the punk movement.
Yeah.
I feel like I really related to because they were often decrying a lot of, authoritarianism, like that. Orwell, like a lot of writers, anybody who fought fascism. I mean, I think a lot of my interest in that was also, coming out of the Spanish Civil War. And so I had a lot of photographs of writers, musicians, actors, that kind of thing. And then I'm trying to I had a piano in my room because I played for a long time. That was black. I was very into black, very goth.
Okay, before we go into stamp of approval section, we like to ask everybody, when was the first time you felt seen in media?
Seen in media. Oh my goodness. I don't know. Has that happened yet?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Yeah,
I was
maybe
gonna
it's
say
still
we have to talk
coming.
about it though.
I mean, in terms of being seen as in like, I equate to it. I think there were so many examples. I read so much, and I really feel like there was very little that I didn't love. Like, again, sort of the tortured classics, The Stranger, like Camus. The Metamorphosis had a really big impact on me, and I think I really did feel like a bug with, some things stuck to me.
Yeah.
That was probably going to die.
Yeah.
Billie Holiday's autobiography was amazing. I also really, again, I don't know that it wasn't so much that I was like, oh, this reflects, because I felt like her life in a way was so different from mine, how we grew up and experiences, but I just identified with her in terms of suffering, I guess, Again, very tortured kind of stuff, but I take a lot, as we all do, I take a lot of that with me.
Of course.
Ever since you guys asked me to do the podcast, I was thinking about, because it was so hard to pick one. I'm sure it is for everybody.
Yeah.
There's like so many wonderful works of art that we keep going back to, but I have been thinking about it more. And I think what one of you just said is true, that like these seminal, they just have such an impact when you're younger.
Yeah.
And then you carry them with you even in ways that you don't realize.
Well, and then to look back on it and see it in a new way too. That's like my favorite thing, to where it's like, oh, it meant something to me then and it means something different to me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it almost cements because again, it can improve upon the repeat viewings and stuff like that. But when it hits and is powerful when you're young, it almost cements and being like, oh, I don't care if it sucks now. I'm like,
do you go back and, because I've stopped
all
myself
the
sometimes
time.
from going back to things because I want to remember
100%.
the way, like some of those books I haven't reread on purpose because I'm like,
Yes.
I just want to remember what that felt like to me then.
I'll be sick. I like in like a series. Sometimes I won't read the last book because I want to know I can come back to it. I'm a sicko.
yeah.
No, that makes sense though. Yeah.
I was like obsessed with this like kind of bad movie called Empire Records when I was young. It was like the Liv
Yeah.
Tyler movie. Like they all worked at a record store.
I remember that book, that movie. Yeah.
I loved it, and then like I went back and I'm like, this isn't good, but I still love it. But like Liv Tyler in it wears these like fuzzy sweaters, and my friend's like, why do you wear fuzzy sweaters? I'm like, I don't know, and I'm like, oh, it's that. Like I was just like as a little kid, I'm like, oh, that will be me one day.
Totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll stop myself from rewatching some things because I go, I want to keep them safe. I want to keep whatever they were to me safe, and I
Totally.
don't want it to be affected. So I totally understand that feeling.
Also, it's random. Like when I lived in Munich, when we lived in Germany, and I didn't speak German for a long time. So again, like I wasn't going to the movies that much because everything was dubbed at the time.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to see, flatliners in German. And
Kind of do now.
maybe. Yeah.
I sound sick as hell.
But so I would find there were these couple of like, again, art school theaters that would play. I don't know how this stuff happened. Now I think about it, I'm like, they must have just had like a copy of In a Lonely Place, the Nicholas Ray movie. And so they played it every week. And like, I would go every week, So like, I've seen that movie 5,000 times.
Yeah.
I mean, not in a while now. But again, I was like, now I'm like, if I saw it now, would I remember? Like, that must have had a huge impact. And the same with Lawrence of Arabia, which I almost picked because I go back to that all the time. Really into big epic movies as well as tiny ones. But that one, again, I was like, it's so funny to think of like a 13 or 14-year-old like going to see Lawrence of Arabia for like 3 hours every week, being the intermission, everything. I was just like, yep, here we are again.
Literally.
This is my weekend.
Yeah.
So funny. Okay, we're gonna go into stamp of approval now.
What's stamp of approval?
So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna ask you questions. First thing that comes to mind is the correct answer.
Okay.
It's only true for today, yesterday, and tomorrow.
Oh.
These are not real.
Wonderful.
But today, in this moment, these answers are real.
Yeah.
Okay. What's a book you would recommend?
Animal Farm. My son just started reading it, and I'm once again reminded how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that's fun too to like get like you were saying before, like getting media from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet that's really
Also,
fun.
it's funny that like he was like, okay, Animal Farm, because he is starting into that teenage thing where he
Yeah.
was like, what is it about? And I said, it's about a bunch of animals that rebel in a farm. And he's like, haha, very funny. And I'm like, no, really, it is. And then he went to read it. And, it is nice. I mean, as writers, you'll appreciate this. He came back and he was like, this is the best writing I've ever read. And I was
Literally.
like,
Good taste.
Orwell.
Yeah.
But that's a great book. And then more, I know it's old, but I only just recently got into Eve Babbitt's, which I know is very, I'm like, why didn't I read
No,
her?
same.
She's still a dark
before.
spot for me.
She's like
She's so what?
She's still a dark spot for me. I haven't.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people like really rave
I
about
think
her.
she's having a moment because it's impossible to get her book at the library right now. Any
Oh,
books written by her.
interesting.
Yeah, I've been trying for like
I think
months.
it's because I forget her name, and Lily something wrote a book about her and Didion's relationship.
Oh.
So I think that's
Oh,
probably
yeah,
is
yeah,
what
put
it is.
everybody, yeah.
Yeah. All I know
Um,
is it's truly impossible.
Interesting.
Interesting. yeah.
Okay, musical. Do you have a musical you really like?
So many. I mean, the classic that I go to all the time is Singing in the Rain, but I love Rocky.
Yeah.
I love, if I can remember his name, Cabaret guy, Bob Fosse.
Yeah.
I mean, and Cabaret specifically, but also I love All That Jazz.
I love all that jazz.
Yeah.
That's
and,
so
So good.
I know. I mean, both of those are unbelievable. And I also think, sometimes musicals, I'm not really into Broadway as much, but I love musicals that are somewhat grounded, I guess, in reality. So like something like Cabaret or All That Jazz, where they're performing because it's part of what they do, to me just
Totally.
feels so much more, I don't know, realistic, I guess. So both of those I think are amazing. And
Yeah.
I go back to all
Those
the
are
time.
perfect.
Yeah.
What's a TV show you think somebody should watch start to finish?
I don't know. Shouldn't we do that with all shows? I guess if you don't like them.
Not all of them.
No, I love
Uh-oh.
this.
Dinah.
No, I'm obsessed with this.
Yeah.
So you say every single one.
Completist.
I sort of feel that way, but I don't know. As I get a little older, sometimes I've hang it up if I really dislike something or if it's making me mad.
Yeah.
But sometimes even like some shows that make me mad, I'm like, I want to see how they land this. My
Right.
husband and I really disagree on it. He's like, life is too short. If you don't like it, turn it off. And I'm like, no.
We're here.
Yeah.
Let's finish.
One issue that I sometimes have with TV shows is that a lot of them feel like actually they shouldn't have gone past like season 3.
Yeah.
Because it's such a hard, like The Sopranos, which is an amazing show that I really do love and that I think is great filmmaking. At some point, I remember thinking, this guy would be dead, right?
Yes.
Like if you're actually
Yes.
following the logic of who he is and what's happening, somebody would have just fucking shot him.
Right.
That's so,
So
funny.
it does become a thing where suddenly you're like, I know we're continuing this and keeping, and what's his name? Don Draper was the same thing. It's like they keep putting him back into the same premise because that's what got the show,
Right.
that's what made us enjoy it in the first place. But after a while with him too, I was like, okay, are you an idiot? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, kinda.
what?
Kinda.
No, I know, but you know what I mean? Like after you,
I know what you
they
mean, though,
keep
yeah.
being put in the same position.
Yeah.
and-
How many times can we see you get out of this predicament?
yeah, which has been interesting as a director now directing on some shows that sometimes depending on what season of a show you come in, actors are like, we've done this a million times.
Yeah.
So I do think that sometimes that's a bit of an issue. Like in a way that movies don't tend to have, because then you're like,
Right.
okay, it's a story from beginning to end,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess sometimes.
No, I love how you answer.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm like obsessed. Well, I mean, being very thoughtful about
Yeah.
the answer. Okay, do you have a top 3 favorite movies?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. They probably change every time. But
Yes.
I guess that's what you're saying. So I don't know. I think Life Flesh, that's an Almodovar movie that's not as well known as some of his others. I love that film. I don't know if you know
What's it called?
Life Flesh.
I
Carne
haven't
Tremula
seen
in
that.
Spanish.
I've only seen probably like his top hits and stuff like that. I loved his exhibit at the Academy Museum. I thought it was so
I missed
pretty.
it, but he was really big. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine like being from Spain, and now we have obviously a lot more filmmakers, but for a long time it was really just Buñuel and then a couple of others. But Almodovar really was like coming up when I was a kid. Like I said, my parents always took me to see his stuff way too early, but he had a big impact, and I love pretty much all of his movies, but there's one that it's a little darker than his stuff, so I think that's why it didn't become such a hit. But it's Javier Bardem in one of his earlier roles, and Angela Molina, who's like a great Spanish actress, and it's like a cop story, but it's beautiful. I just love the way that it's shot and the story that it tells. And
He's so cool.
yeah, I love that's one that I keep going back to. The Godfather is a really big one. I don't know if it's because I was 6 when I saw it, but I also, I think that sometimes the movies I keep going back to are also because of the craft of it as well. Like now
Yeah.
as I get older and so it's like the writing is amazing, the directing is incredible, the performances, the shooting is, to die for, the editing. I think I like movies that like, sure, it's a mafia movie, but really it's about family and toxicity and, the impact that we can have on one another, right? So sure, like I understand the mafia stuff is its own thing, but to me it really is about like the the effect that like this toxic figure can have on his own children,
Totally.
Yeah.
Do the Right Thing. We just resaw it again.
Yeah.
That's a fucking great movie.
It's perfect.
I'm like, I haven't thought about that movie in so long.
know, it's
but
so
I'm like,
good,
I
though.
want to rewatch. I'm like, for you, because you are directing, like when you're watching stuff, are you paying attention to all the little pieces, or can it be just like one thing?
It's been a long time since I don't think about the directing part of it anymore, which
Yeah.
I don't know. For a while it made me sad, and now I'm like, whatever. Sometimes like I forget what I rewatched a little bit of Heat again, before I knew I was going to come here. And that is an unbelievable movie in terms of just the accomplishment of, how to get all of that, especially, I mean, so many, but I just watched the beginning with the truck that they
It's
drive
so
into,
good. Yeah.
all of that. And I was like, my husband's a director too. So I was like, how did they do? I just don't understand. Like, it's all practical,
Right.
By the way, that's one of those movies where like in any given point in any crew, if you just mention Heat, everyone's like, Heat. Like, we're all going to talk about, everyone has a story. Everyone has a thing. Like, everyone's talking about like how many cameras and how many trucks and fires.
Do you watch any reality TV? Do you have any favorite?
I watch very little of it. My son and I have gotten into Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Although I keep telling him that that's not real dating.
And that's
important.
a good distinction.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
The way things
He
are
thinks
going.
they're insane.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to watch with him. But we don't watch it. It's like sporadic. We sort
Totally.
of. And then Pete and I, my husband and I, got into Selling Sunset during COVID.
Yes.
Also, I don't, the funny thing to me with reality TV, and I feel a little sad that like I don't have the bug as much as so many people do.
Yeah.
You
Because
don't
what
need that.
happens after a while is that I feel, that word that they say in Ghostbusters, spooged?
Yeah.
I feel a little spooged after a while.
No, I think that's correct.
I can only take so much, and then I'm like, oh, I just can't anymore.
I agree with you.
And then I stop, and then one day I'm like, hey, you want to watch some Love is Blind?
Yeah. Do you have any documentaries or docuseries that you really like?
There's a documentary that I'm sad is not available on film or on the internet, but I'll shout it out anyway, made by a woman who has made a lot of other films and is a friend, Lori Collier. It's called New Eureka Dream. I saw it at Sundance many years ago, and it's an amazing documentary about a Puerto Rican family and sort of how they deal with one of the members' addiction. I don't know if she's ever gonna. I don't know why it's not available, but I actually was looking for it to show my students because a bunch
Yeah.
of them were making documentaries, and she was like, "It's not online. I'm working on it." So I don't know. Maybe putting it out there will
Okay,
help.
I love
Yeah.
that.
I also studied with Barbara Koppel at NYU, which was amazing. I
Yeah.
love her work.
Okay, is there a person that kind of no matter what, if their name is attached to something, you're probably going to consume it?
I think I used to feel a lot more like that. I mean, some of the big actors feel that way to me, but now I don't know, because I feel like in a way, one of the thing about being an artist is that hopefully we can change our way,
Totally.
what we do and how we do it. I
I'm
mean, I
there.
watch all of Almodovar's movies
Yeah.
whenever they come out.
Yeah.
I mean, even people who I don't, like I watch all of PTA stuff. Like a lot of the people who I think I sort of came up with, like that were just starting out when I got
Yeah.
to New York.
Yeah.
I'll watch it because it's also part of like
Totally.
our lives, right? Even if I don't love all their work or
Oh, yeah. They're just getting us to go. We don't have to. This isn't. We
Yeah.
like all the work. It's
Yeah.
just getting us to go to the movies.
Yeah.
Was the Tilda Swinton Julianne Moore movie that Almodovar?
Yeah.
We saw that. Remember
yeah.
the room at the
Room next door.
room next door or
What
something?
did you think of that?
It's a little because it was his first English language movie, right?
Yeah.
It was interesting because I'm not I haven't seen all of his work,
Mhm.
so I don't have as firm an opinion. I'm being like, well, that's because like sometimes. I think sometimes in English things can be so literal, where
Yeah.
if it's in a different language, that can be more expressive.
Yeah.
And so some of the dialogue stuck out a little bit, but I really liked it. I thought it
Mhm.
was like the set design was beautiful. The
Mhm.
coats,
Yeah.
goats were so pretty.
Also, just how patient of a movie it was.
Yeah.
I feel like so
That's
many
true.
movies are like so rushing to get me to the thing, and this movie was almost like holding me from the
Mhm.
thing, and I was like, I know what's coming, and it was like, we do too. Like,
Yeah.
just sit down, like, just be here
Yeah.
with it. That part of it was like really beautiful to
Yeah.
me.
I
Where it
love
was just
Tilda
like, just
Swinton,
sit, you're
too.
okay.
Love Tilda Swinton. Actually, you're asking like who would I go? Probably her. I mean, I just
Yes.
feel like she's, and I mean this in the best way, like some alien that showed up from
She's
out of
so
world.
And I feel
Perfect.
like she would take that in the
Yeah.
best way.
Yeah,
Like,
I think so too.
She's
yeah.
also doing work that I'm like, she's surprising. I
So
feel like every
surprising.
time I see
Yeah.
her on like a poster in a trailer, I'm like, that's crazy. Elle Fanning, I feel the same way about. Where I'm like,
Mhm.
what? That's wild. The things you're jumping to.
Right.
It's true. I think that actually actors, in a way, become more interesting that way when you see them do different things,
Yes.
right? There
Mhm.
was that. Yeah, I think we've sort of gone in ebbs and flows of like, I think in the 40s and 50s, actors were known for like doing one thing and people would
Right.
go and watch that, right? Like Cary Grant in this
Right.
comedy or
Yeah.
or whatever. And then the 60s and the 70s sort of started at the opposite, that it's like actors would kind of lose themselves in a part and they were unrecognizable or like put on a bunch of weight or, De Niro, all those people. And now it's like, I don't really know that we have, I think people just kind of do their thing, but she's one that consistently, I think, does amazing
Same.
work. And that is also really different. I feel that way about Viggo Mortensen too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just unbelievable. Benicio, I've always loved.
Mhm.
I wish I saw more of him. I feel like he doesn't.
He's kind of having a moment right now, though. He was in like
because of the.
the PTA movie. He
Yeah.
was in. I thought the Wes Anderson movie he was really good.
Yeah,
in.
I
The
didn't
Phoenician
see that.
Scheme. It was.
was
so-
great.
I mean, both those movies. I'm like,
Yeah.
To me, I was like, oh yeah, this guy is everything. Like, he's just such a
He's
good
incredible.
actor. Yeah.
He's an incredible actor.
I heard some story on Sicario that like his character had like all this backstory, and he was like, I don't need any of that, and he cut like more than half of his lines because he's like, oh, we could just do like if I say nothing, I'm more interesting, and I'm like,
Good man.
what a cool move
I
for an
know, that
actor.
is so
I
you
give
know?
that note to the students all the time. I'm like,
Right.
Just we don't need it.
yeah.
There's
But do you feel that way as writers?
Mhm.
Yeah,
You do.
because I'm personally word heavy. I like words, but I think it's in the style in which I like to perform. So in writing, you have to do like a couple layers where we're like, cool, now this draft was for us. Now take everything away.
Yeah.
Because then it's for them. But yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like
but
you have to do a draft.
I know, but it's like it's so dependent on what you're writing, right? Because like sometimes we would joke around and try to write like like a Howard Hawks type,
Yeah.
or like kind of something that's more like The Apartment, where it's like
Yeah.
the point of it is the bouncy language.
Also an amazing movie.
Oh, it's one of
Yeah.
my favorites.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on what it is. But most of the time, I do think less is more.
In general, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially once you start filming, it's like we don't need any of this. We don't need. It's just a look. Like show
Well,
it with a
that's
look.
the thing. Then when you cast, I feel like a lot of the times when we are asked, and this is also like often a note that gets given on set, that it's like, well, can they say it? Can she say it? Can he say it? And I'm like, they're saying it
Right.
without the words. Like that's
Mhm.
kind of the point
Well,
of
most of the time, we're not saying it.
yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
real life. So it is crazy when, yeah.
Or there's the whole Netflix of it all, where it's like now you can see they're editing movies to be like, make sure that every 7 minutes we're like, even if we establish like flying into Denver, it's like we're in Denver because it's like, oh, people are on their phones, so it's like
Right.
it's the attention economy of it all.
I had also heard that every 20 minutes something big has to happen, which I actually now when I'm writing just to amuse myself, I'm like, should I throw someone out the window?
Yes.
Like just randomly.
It happens every 20 minutes.
Yeah. Just somebody you don't even know.
Okay, is there a dream house or location in media you would like to go to?
Oh wow, what a great question. I think that amazing house in the Limey. Do you guys
I've
know the
never seen the
Stevens?
that's
the
like
Limey is so
I
good.
know it's on every list. It's on
And
every
another actor,
letterbox
Terrence
movie.
Stamp.
Oh, he's cool.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
From First Cow. Yeah, is that what it's called?
Oh.
Ken Loach, also a huge director for me. See, now that we're talking about it,
Yeah, we're
yeah.
going.
it's all coming out. But yeah, in the Limey, there's an amazing house that the Henrik Fonda character lives in that overlooks a hill.
Cool.
I actually just heard that I think it burned down in the Palisades fire. It was like a very old, I don't know, from the 40s. I can't remember who the architect was, but that's an amazing place.
Okay, love.
Yeah.
Okay, food or a meal for media you would like to try?
Wow. Probably the sauce that what is his name makes in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
Remember that whole sequence is so amazing.
I really go for the whole prison pasta. I want to eat all where they cut the garlic with the razor. I want to eat that whole meal.
I just don't want to be in prison.
No.
As
Well,
fun
no.
as that seems. Yeah.
Though like 1960s mafia prison kind of seems like kind of guys drinking wine and playing cards.
Totally. And also in The Godfather, there's also an amazing making the sauce sequence too, where I love that the guy, I can't remember his name, is it Costanza or something? He goes, Mikey,
Brazza?
come over here. No, he's like making, and he's like, you never know when you're gonna have to cook for 25 guys. And I was like, huh. That's just like, that's kind of like a you guys thing, you know? Like you're stuck in a Zulu being like, okay, time to make the pasta again.
25 guys.
Yeah.
Sounds my worst nightmare.
Literally has
Be like,
never
hey,
happened.
so you gotta cook for 25 men.
Yeah.
Okay, namesake. Is there somebody in media that shares the same name as you that you are like, that's pretty cool?
Oh, yes.
Soph, I think, looked him up too.
I got a list.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
There's not a ton. It's not a very common name. I feel like Zaza Gabor's sister is Eva Gabor, which does sound really beautiful,
That does.
but I don't really know.
That's a real person.
Yeah.
Do you have like
Yeah, who do
characters?
you-
I have some
Oh,
characters.
characters. Oh.
Well, speaking of,
Yeah.
Tilda Swinton and We Need to Talk About Kevin was named Eva Karadachunian.
Wow.
I don't know. Can't
I
even
probably
pronounce
forgot that on purpose because
Yeah.
it's such a terrifying movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an Eva in Whip It. Never saw that movie, but
okay.
in Center Stage, what's her name?
Oh wow.
She just won an Oscar.
I haven't seen that in so long, but
I
yeah,
love.
that's
Someone
a good
brought
movie.
it for the podcast.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
a
never
cool
seen it.
What
one.
is her name?
Who just
That's
won
the
the Oscar?
teacher, or
Who just won the Oscar for Amelia Perez?
oh, Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her and Whip It, or not Whip It, her in Center Stage.
Interesting.
So that's a good
Yeah.
one.
That is a good
I
one.
forgot. See, wow, that's good to know. I forget that.
It holds up. That's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
recently did it for the podcast.
I
It's
liked it.
great. Okay, has there ever been a music drop in a TV show or a movie that you're like, that was great?
A music drop?
Yeah.
Oh my God, so many. But let's see if I can think of any.
Right.
You know, Hedwig and the Angry Inch. I feel like
Oh,
has like.
sure.
I mean, that whole movie is like.
Yeah, that's pretty wall to wall.
Right?
Yeah.
And I also really, when that movie came out, because I had lived in Germany, again, different circumstances, but that movie really spoke to me as well. And then I feel like Scorsese does that really well. Like that sequence that we were talking about now, that, you know, that famous like ending of Goodfellas. There's, what is it called? Time of the Season? Is that what that song is?
At the very end?
Towards the, when he's like, I had to go to the airport to pick up the kid.
Oh, that's the Harry
with the
Nielsen song,
helicopter.
right?
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it Harry Nilsson? Yeah. I
That
think-
sequence is, but like that whole movie,
Bum,
he's like
ba-dum.
doing like 7 different.
Yes.
I think it's like Jump Into the Fire by Harry
Yes.
Nielsen.
Jump into the fire. You're right.
But
Not Time
then-
of the Season.
And then
yeah.
He Kissed Me. I mean, there's the
Yeah.
when he's like bringing her through the date, through the kitchen, and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean,
That's
I feel
great.
like he uses songs so well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a poem or a poet you really like?
I've gotten once again. I've revisited Basho, the Japanese like haiku poet, who I love, and Emily Dickinson is always like a real another one I really return to
Yeah.
a lot. And then also some Spanish poetry that like Quevedo is amazing, who's like a really well-known Spanish writer, and Machado, who's more from like the 40s. Yeah, a lot of those. It's funny.
Cool.
I was like very anti-poetry for a long time. I think it was because of that, you know, the teenage thing of like everybody was writing poetry, and I
Yeah.
was like, fuck everybody and fuck poetry. But there's obviously some really,
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure.
Okay, and then what's the most iconic look in media?
I feel like Rita Hayworth in Gilda. That's an amazing look. That also, I think like Demi Moore brought it back a couple 10 years ago. Do
Oh,
you
really?
remember?
No.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Gilda?
No.
No.
Oh, yeah, that one's a really good
Okay.
one.
Literally, I'm just gonna go through this.
Yeah,
app.
for sure.
Consume everything.
Gilda's amazing, and also I think has one of the best introductions of a character ever.
Okay.
Let me know when
exciting.
you see it.
Okay.
Okay,
But
we'll
her
compare
look is
notes.
iconic from the hair to the.
She's
you
so
know,
beautiful. I
She's
love
so
Rita
beautiful.
Hayworth.
I also different kind of media, but I really do think that Blondie has some incredibly iconic looks.
Oh yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
white slip dress with the pumps. Pretty much anything. I actually do look her up quite a lot because I'm like, how did she pull this shit off? Like the little roller shorts. And,
Yeah.
you
Is
know,
that the album cover where everyone's in like the black suit?
Yeah.
She.
Line-
Yeah.
Parallel Lines, I think
Yes.
it's called.
Yes.
Yeah, she's
But
unreal.
pretty much every look she has, I think, is incredible and very iconic. Like I think she just like easily
Yeah.
made that, but it didn't look like she was trying, which I think
No.
is maybe I'm showing my age, but I feel like these days everyone just feels so like pulled together in a way that's so calculated, and with her it just felt like she was like going through her closet and being
No,
like,
she was incredibly
this is what I'm wearing.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
throwing it on.
yeah.
Very I bet she was a pile girl.
I love
Yeah.
Debbie.
Also, how hilarious! I mean, she's a great actress too. I've seen her.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember those series of shorts? I can't remember that name of the actor. That it was like early internet days. It was a guy who did a lot of New York shorts. It was like out in Long Island. He often plays mothers, like and older women. They'll be like very minimalist shorts where it's just like a woman on the phone in the house, like listening and
It's not
cleaning
like John
up.
Early, is it?
It might be, yeah.
It sounds like.
Oh, I
But
bet
he
it
made
is.
one with Debbie
with
Harry,
Debbie Harry?
who she comes over and like visits him, and they have like a Christmas together, and they're getting drunk. And I thought she was great in that. I was like, why doesn't she act more?
I know.
There's
Yeah,
a clip in my head of her with Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's so generous and like so like he
Yeah.
is real from my childhood that I'm like, oh, it's like my favorite, again, a thing I haven't revisited, but like a thing that I go like, oh,
For
her
sure.
and Kermit the Frog being so like locked in.
Yeah, like almost like. Did you guys vote?
probably.
Kermit.
Okay, and then any hometown movie, book, TV show that you really like? Any place that felt like home to you?
I think Almodovar wise, All About My Mother takes place in Barcelona, which was unusual for him because he almost always shot in Madrid.
Yeah.
And I thought he really captured the city
Oh, I
really
love
well.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a lot of like, there's a character in that movie that I think is based on Violeta la Burra, who I was talking about earlier.
Oh shoot.
Yeah. It's a really famous scene too. If you guys haven't seen that, there's a performance that's about to happen and it doesn't happen. So she comes on to sort of like keep the audience waiting, and she talks about all the work she's had done and how much money it takes. It's an amazing moment. But so much about that, I was like, oh, this feels like my life too, because like I'm like, I recognize her, even I think she's supposed to be Violeta, and like just a lot of the stuff that happens in the movie
Yeah.
feels like home in a shitty way, but home anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, okay, this one's kind of a crazy one to end on. But what's the best animal in media?
Wow. Best animal. Okay, this might be weird. I don't know if it's my favorite, but another one of the movies I watched as a kid in Spain, which was called Un Gato del FBI, a cat from the FBI, but in English, then I found out was called That Darn Cat.
Oh,
Oh, that's for-
yes.
yeah, for
That
sure.
darn cat is so good.
I figured out, speaking of directorial stuff, it's two cats because you can see a slight difference.
Okay.
But still, that is an amazing performance, and I don't know how they got
Is it the same movie or is it like a remake?
No, the old movie from the 50s, which is like very old fashioned.
Yes,
but
yeah.
all the so it's about like there's a robbery, and the guy who robs the jewels like puts it on the cat so
Yeah.
that he can come back to it, and basically like they have to end up following this cat to get to
That darn cat.
yeah.
That darn cat.
And then, do you remember your first crush from media?
I mean, I want to say probably Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah.
Which is
Hunk.
funny. I was thinking about that recently, and I was like, it's funny how that stuff changes as you get older. Because,
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I love him as an actor still, but I was like, why would I like that guy when I was 6. You know what I mean?
Edward Norton was mine. I'm like, huh? What happened?
Yeah.
But it was fully Edward
It's
Norton.
so funny,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I also had a lot of crushes on, like Rita Hayworth, Marilyn.
Yeah.
I mean, those crushes are still alive and,
Of course.
and well. The Bogart thing, I don't know if you had this, like, for a while when I was little, I thought I wanted to be an actor because I thought that they came up with all the shit that they said.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I just was blown away by Bogart. Like, I had seen him in, a lot of movies that I still really love. Like, I mean, not just Casablanca, but To Have and Have Not. And so I just was, so much of it had to do with that, the sort of the man who have a code of ethics and stick to it. And I think he was probably the first one that I really was like, again, in my mind, I was like, this guy, this is just the way he is. Like, I didn't realize that he was an actor.
Yeah.
Right. That's so funny.
And then once I found that out, I was like, oh, let me
Right.
go find out about scripts and directing.
Then you go see Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and you said this guy's
Yes.
a piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Bradford, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That-
Butch Cassidy.
Okay, we're out of stamp of approval. So
Okay.
we're done with that, and we're on to our third and final section.
And for that section, we asked all of our guests to bring in a piece of media that they find themselves returning to, love in some way, shape, or form. And you brought in the movie Heat.
Yes.
Talk about it. Why do you love Heat?
God, I feel like I'm talking so much. I guess that's kind
Well,
No,
of the
that's
point.
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we're,
But,
It'd be
as
crazy
designed.
if you weren't.
I didn't say a word.
Heat. I mean, where to start? I do think that it's, I don't like to use the word perfect because I don't think it really exists that much. But I think if a movie comes close to perfection, it probably is that.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what I was saying earlier, I think so much of the craft of it is always in the service of the story. But also, I love a good action movie. I think the action piece of it is incredible, just from the way it's shot, the way that it's edited. But really, at its heart, it's interesting because it's a movie that is rightly criticized for being, hyper masculine, toxic, perhaps, which, I would love to hear your opinions on as well. I certainly, I totally get that, and I agree with a lot of it. And also, I feel like at the same time, there isn't a lot of movies that I think actually show that type of man in their loneliness.
Yeah.
Right? And how it kind of destroys them, actually.
Yeah.
And I think there's something really honest about that,
I did too.
which doesn't mean that I'm excusing the behavior or anything like that, but it's actually like a really great look at these two men who, of course, are very similar, even if they're on opposite sides of the law or whatever. But it's very lonely. It's a movie that's very much about loneliness. And I don't know. It's weird that I would love that, but I actually think that I kind of wish that there was more of an exploration of that, especially these days because of the conversations
totally.
going on. I feel like I don't know where men are in a lot of or women for that matter. That's a whole different thing as well. But and again, I know I'm being very binary about it, but it does.
Yeah.
It's a movie that I think lives in that world.
Yeah, well, it's
Oh,
good and bad.
100%.
It's
Yeah.
top and rock. It is binary.
Yes,
in
it's,
its,
I mean,
totally.
a
its
very
approach.
binary movie.
Yeah.
I will say this is the first time I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
And
I'm
in
so
watching
curious.
it, I was obsessed with the wives and the girlfriend.
Absolutely.
So I understand that the boys were doing what they were doing, but every time any of the women would come on screen, I would be so like, oh yeah, like these men aren't like imaginary. These are men that women have had to deal with forever. And to watch, like, especially the ones where you were telling me, because I told you like Natalie Portman made me like sob.
Yeah.
Just that relationship of like the unseen father. I was like, oh, like that's like was beautiful to me. All these, the conversation Al Pacino's wife's having with him where she goes, I know the deal. I know we had to share, but this isn't sharing. This is leftovers. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm dead. Like
The
I was.
women are amazing, and Ashley Judd.
Oh my
I
gosh.
love Ashley
that
Judd in
scene where
this.
she goes like this to
Yeah.
him
Stop.
kills me every
Me
time.
And
too.
Val, like, them two together will break your heart
How
because
amazing is he?
he was so great.
Val Kilmer, incredible.
Well,
was-
you have a lot of.
I did a lot of
Yeah,
research.
Soph
Oh,
did a
okay,
lot of
okay.
research because I was like, it's so. Because it was right after Batman, he did this, and it's like, oh, it's such an interesting move. But you were saying,
Well, he was saying because it went out to Keanu Reeves, the Christian hairless part,
out,
and he turned it
really?
down because he
Interesting.
wanted to do. He said he wanted to do Shakespeare. He was doing a play because he just come off a bunch of movies, And Val Kilmer was just rapping Batman, and they're like, well, he's Batman. He's not going to want to play a supporting role. And he said the suit, he couldn't move in it, so he was just sitting in a corner like the whole movie because like they didn't want to overexert him. He's like, no one would come and talk to you, and he's like, it was really isolating and lonely. So when he got the offer, he was like, yeah, I want to be in a movie with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, you know, like
A good
yeah,
man.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
was like,
yeah.
let's go. But I thought he was.
I did
he's
too.
kind of the magic sauce to this whole
I totally
movie.
agree. And there is so much, you know, I mean, there's a lot to say about it. I also, you know, obviously Pacino takes a lot of the literal heat in this, and I will defend him and fight anybody that over him. But De Niro gives an incredible,
Yes.
quiet performance.
He really does.
But his relation to Val Kilmer in that I always feel is very like father-son in a way. And I love that scene and that line where Val Kilmer says, you know, for me, what is it like the sun rises and sets with her?
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, speaking of like the,
Yeah.
because again, so much of it is about their vulnerability in regards to the women, and you don't
100%.
really see that in a lot of films.
No,
right?
and this like weird internal battle these men are doing where I can't have both, and it's like if you communicated just a little bit
Yeah.
more, you
Yeah.
could have both. But it's this like again, this scene in the end where De Niro leaves her in the car. I was like, oh my god, he doesn't get. He thinks this is the only option,
Mhm.
and it's like it never was.
Yep.
No.
And that's what again the women I was upset. I think
No, I think the women are amazing.
Yeah.
It's just obviously it's not their movie, but
No.
but it's interesting to see. Also, I'm always like, how the fuck did Michael Mann really? He wrote this,
yeah.
the whole thing.
Do you know like it was like a TV series before?
Yeah, it's called something else.
It's like
right?
Police
Yeah.
Story or something,
Yeah,
whatever. But it was like Robert De Niro's character is like a real guy who was like a Chicago.
Oh, really?
Because Michael Mann's from Chicago. Robert De Niro's like it was a criminal who like was like would like give these like scared straight stories to kids, being like, "Don't be a criminal," because this is who I was. And so in real life, he told a story about how a cop knew he was like gonna commit a crime, and the cop like, and they were like onto each other. And at one point, he was like, "Come on in," and like they had a cup of coffee, and they like talked. So he's like, "Oh, it was based on a real thing," and he tried to make it a TV show pilot.
Yeah.
In Miami Vice days, it didn't go, and then he was like, "I don't have the chops to direct this until, you know, Last of the Mohicans and blah 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 blah." But
yeah.
yeah, it's so incredible. It's interesting that it gets knocked as like toxic masculinity, because I think the whole point of it is like these guys' inability to communicate to like these women who are like supposed to be their partners, but it's like, oh, I can almost communicate more to like the person trying to like kill me or like
Yeah.
evade me. Like I connect with you, and in our connection of like our inability to talk, it's almost like I get you. You don't have to say anything to me. I don't think that's it's not like glamorizing them. It's like I'm sad. My life is sad.
I agree. I think it's a really honest movie
Yeah.
that way. I mean, I think that in the way that movies do, it does glamorize them to some extent in terms of their honor. And I mean, you know, let's be clear. Like, I know the Winograd character is the only one that's really shown being violent to women. In reality, I think probably a lot of them
Yeah.
will be
100%.
much more violent, right? So like things like that, which I get it. It's like that's not what he's gonna, you know, if he starts showing them being violent to women, then it's gonna be really hard for us to, you know. But even then, even in the understanding that it's a movie, I agree. I also think that it's kind of incredible that De Niro, the De Niro character, you know, is very much alone, and obviously he speaks like the ethos of the movie, right? Like never get attached to anything or anyone that you can't walk out of in
Yeah.
30 seconds or
Yeah.
whatever that is, which again, like it's also interesting to see how much that has changed, because when that movie came out, a lot of guys, especially in film school too, would say that shit like it was like a really cool thing, you know? And
Sure.
I was,
That's
you
so
know,
funny.
again, I don't think that the movie intends it in that way. I mean, I
No.
think it's a way to safeguard yourself, which I identify with to some extent. For a long time, I feel like I was like, yep, can't depend on anyone, can't depend on, you know, anything.
Yeah.
Right. But then the way he plays it, which I think is the beauty of his performance, is that of course he wants that attachment, you know, and that's what's beautiful about that scene with Val Kilmer when he says, yeah, for me, the sun rises and sets with her. And he goes, yeah, like the way he takes that in you know, I think his performance is just unbelievable. And then, of
Yeah.
course, you see it with the Amy Brenneman character, who I think is also so incredible.
When you said a crazy thing where apparently you say it.
She got the script and she's like, this character sucks. And then like her agent told that to Michael Mann. Michael Mann's like, I want to meet her. And he's like, so you think it's a bad part? She's like, yeah, I do. And like he's like, why? And she like explained and she's like, okay. And he's like, let's flesh it out. So like whatever dimension they gave to her was because Amy Brenneman being like, yeah, I don't know who this person is. And so
Yeah.
like, cause she does.
But then watching the movie, I'm like, I know exactly who this person
Yeah.
is. And even like to break the Robert De Niro, who is doing like that scene where he even is talking to Ashley Judd and he goes, you have to give him one more chance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because he's saying it because he's like, my guy loves you.
yeah.
But he's not saying that, obviously. But I'm like, that is what he's saying.
Right.
Like,
I think that's the other thing, that there's so many movies that so many scenes in that movie that I think are messy in the way that
Yes.
life is messy. Like I was thinking about that scene too and thinking, is he doing it because of that, or really because he needs him to stay on
Oh,
top of it for one
interesting.
more, you know, because they have that one more hit to do, and
Yeah.
he knows that he'll fall apart if she leaves him.
okay. And
So in a way,
I'm
it's
obsessed.
selfish, right? I mean, I think he clearly understands that the Kilmer character is so in love with
Yeah.
her. But yeah, it's such a, like, what a weird, fucked up, half-assed way of doing that.
Yeah.
But also, and she's amazing in the whole movie. She kind of looks at
Stunning,
him
too.
like, yeah. But she's also like, okay, crazy man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing that.
Maybe
you know?
this is giving him too much credit, but I also kind of read that a little bit of being like, I want to believe that there's evidence that I could potentially have a normal life, where it's like, oh, if somebody in my crew could like have a wife and a family and do this, it's like, then maybe I could. But like, if it dissolves, then I'm just gonna be lonely my whole
I
life.
think that's really true. Yeah,
It could be.
And
Yeah, I
also,
don't know.
De Niro also, because he says to Kilmer, "Does she have a?" They don't say side piece, but they say, "Does she have something on the side?"
Yeah.
Is that what he says?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, "She doesn't," and then of course she does. So like,
Yeah.
De Niro knows that, right? Like he's kind of a
He's
sage,
up. Yeah.
like a dad in the whole group. He's like, which I think is also why he's so mad about being betrayed by the Winograd character, right? Like
course.
he cannot let that go.
I know.
Yeah.
Which was so hard to watch because truly I knew nothing about the movie. And I was like texting Soph, like, he's going to get in the car, right? Soph was like,
Can't.
no,
I
you got to
can't-
keep
yeah.
watching. But I was devastated. And that moment where he really does look at her and he goes, like,
and she's so
she's
hard for
so
So
broken.
But
and then,
see, I think the movie does really good at showing us the cost of that as
I
well,
know.
right? Like, you know, in other movies, I feel like they would be like, she's gonna cry or something like
No,
that, and
yeah.
it's not. It's like total just emotional beats.
yeah.
Um,
And then even the end, again, I won't say what happens because if they haven't seen it, like I haven't seen it, I was like, the last moment between Al Pacino and him, I was like, this is how it's always going to end. Like,
Yeah.
it really, again, confused in the first hour. I'll say that.
what were you confused about? Like, you just didn't know.
There's
what
a lot
was-
going on.
There's
Yeah,
a
there is.
lot, like even with the bail, like reselling the bail bonds back to like the William
Yes.
Fichtner character, because like I was like, just like, who's this guy? And I'm like, I don't know, you know, like it's, you understand it if you see it all,
Eventually.
but like at
And,
first
yeah,
it's
Yeah,
like,
it's a thick movie. That
Yeah.
way. Like,
It's a
there's
thick
quite
movie.
lot,
And
yeah.
I was like, my first bite in, I said, wait. And Soph said, just you're going to get there to the end. And then I've heard the line my whole life. She's got a great ass. But I never knew where it was from. And
And
so when
how
it
did you
happened,
feel?
I loved it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, when he said it, because I had no clue it was coming either. And when he said it, I
Neither
went,
did any of the actors
No.
acting with him.
really?
I don't
That's
think so.
crazy.
That and the other one in the beginning where he goes, "Give me all you got."
yeah.
Yes.
That actor's like, "Whoa."
No, that actor's face, I was like, that man was not ready for
No.
Give Me All You
No.
Got.
Well, and apparently his character has a coke problem that they cut out of the movie, but that's why he's
I think
acting
we
like
can all
that.
see he's
That's
got a
so
problem, but
funny.
yeah.
But in like, there's a scene where he like, where the great ass thing, you could hear Hank Azaria go, Jesus. And it's because like in the take, they said that he didn't, like, they're like, do one for you. And he did that. He
He
screamed
also
it.
didn't know.
And his real reaction was Hank Azaria's,
Also,
Jesus.
it's just I can't imagine the line like, what is it? He's got a great ass, and you've got your head,
Head
right
all
on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's like, what? But I love that they used it because, again, to me that makes so much sense.
Mhm.
That,
Yeah.
and I also love when he goes home and she's in the house with, what's his name, Ralph.
Oh yeah, Ralph catches a stray.
Ralph is like, oh boy.
Whoa.
And that he takes the television with him. I love that. And
Yes.
then, like,
Oh, that
kicks
was
it out of the
unreal.
car. But and I love her line when she says, you know, whatever she says, and now I have to debase myself with Ralph or whatever.
Yes.
Sitting right
Which
there.
Ralph is also like,
So
excuse me.
crazy.
But what a great scene.
She also like
Yeah.
held her.
Mhm.
She made his performance even like I was like, you. This actress did so much for like him too, because I was like, oh, you're like grounded. I believe you. I believe this is your life. I believe this is your like husband.
Yeah.
I don't. There was something about that too. Not to keep bringing it back to the girls, but I was like, they were all anchoring all these
No, I
performances.
agree. I actually think that I think you're right that for a movie that is often talked, I mean, it is about masculinity and all
course.
this stuff, but you know, they don't exist in a vacuum.
No.
and,
No.
and what's beautiful is that they do show a lot of that intimacy
Totally.
that is often not working well, that they're also, you know, failing at. And I agree. I think a lot of the women in it know, you know, every woman knows how they feel, even if you haven't been in that particular situation. And I think
Yeah.
it's very well observed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Again, for a movie that is so much about male, I go, well, we're doing a lot for the girlies too.
I
I
also
agree.
kind of gleamed like an artistic like metaphor too when they're talking in the coffee shop and he's like, I don't know how to do anything else, and he's like, me neither, and he
Yeah.
goes, I don't really want to do anything else. It's like, me neither.
Oh,
Where I'm
yeah.
like, oh yeah, it's like
Artists.
yeah, it's ours. It's like anyone could you could go work, you know, do whatever you want, but it's like
Agree.
yeah, no, you don't.
No, that
you don't
is
want
so
to.
good.
It's I don't want to do anything else. you
Right.
know?
It's like, this is the game I want to be playing.
Yeah, and Robert De Niro's like Bobby, his like performance just when he's talking about like, oh, and you'll walk out, and he just goes, that's the discipline, and I'm like, ugh, it's so like
I
two words,
know.
and I'm like, you can say so much with 2 words.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, every one of those supporting actors, I don't remember the wonderful actor's name, the guy who's working in the kitchen, who is
Dennis Haysborough.
so good
Yeah.
and again so heartbreaking at all. You know, like I don't think it really pulls any punches like you were saying in terms of glamorizing that life
No.
because
No.
he's so wonderful in that scene. But you know, when he first comes into the job and the manager is kind of shitty to him, and you can see that he's like, okay, I just got out of jail and now I gotta fucking do this thing. And then he just, you know, he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna like. So there's so much pathos and drama given to, you know, what we have to stand and live through, right? And you understand why they would go back to do what they were doing.
Or his
Right.
girlfriend when she's dropping him off. He's like,
I
why are you
know.
so good to me? She's like, because like I know who you are,
know.
and it's like. He didn't need that, you know. It's like you didn't
Yeah.
need that scene of his girlfriend dropping him off, but it's like it adds so much to the story.
And actually, for you know how many movies make women out to be the bad guys in so many ways, I think actually, you know, because the Ashley Judd thing, what's beautiful about it is that you know she's fucking fed up with him,
Yeah.
and she's ready to
Yeah.
go, and still she's like, I'm not gonna fucking sell him out.
No,
you know?
I know.
It's so
Truly,
great.
though.
Yeah.
Because there's so many. I've seen the movies that some of these men have been in where the women is like crazy.
Yeah.
To where I'm like, none of these women were crazy. And just watch that. Also, I was not expecting her to do that.
I love
Yeah,
that scene. So,
it's
and
so
also,
good.
he's
Shocks me,
so
though.
heartbreaking.
I
And so
know.
is she.
They both are.
Because he's like, his face changes like, oh, fuck. And then you know they're not going to
I know.
see each other again, right?
I know.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Because you were saying Heat 2. Have you
Well-
heard? Have you heard of this Heat 2?
I just heard about that, yeah, but I don't know. That pains
looked-
me a little bit, but
I don't see how it's going to be as good, but we'll see because there's also a couple other things like Val Kilmer. It said when in the final shootout scene, he got so good at like changing the magazine clip on the
Yeah.
gun that they show that to Marines of like here's how to like change a gun within
Wow.
like
That's
that
crazy.
form of like combat or whatever
I mean,
like
that's
on the
also
move.
an amazing sequence. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And I read something too where I guess in 2014 in LA they changed all the lights to LED lights, and they used to have like an orange sodium. And so like when you have all the nighttime exteriors, they have this like orange glow. Where I think Drive was the last movie to film under those lights. But
Oh,
now if
weird.
you shoot exteriors like in LA, all the lights are LED because they're like energy saving.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, another way, you know, Vittorio Storaro shot that incredible. I mean, what an incredible looking film.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I keep thinking, and again, TV has a lot to do with this. That now, you know, even if you come in as a director, anything that you shoot that doesn't have dialogue in it gets cut. Which of course is like, you know, from a visual point of view, makes no sense. But I was thinking about so many every location and every shot in this, it's like just Pacino parking and going into a
Yeah.
bar is like neons, behind it.
Yeah.
Like clear. I'm like, I used to know the name of one of the people that did locations. Again, these people are all legendary back when production was still in LA,
Yeah.
but unbelievable locations.
No
and-
sets. It was 100 shots.
Yeah.
All
Wait,
on
really?
location. Yeah, there was no sets. They had no soundstage sets.
I love that though.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And just so many iconic scenes, like the way he comes. My husband and I do that Pacino thing in the beginning when he comes into the murder scene and he goes. I know, I'm not where he just points at it. We sometimes do that if like I leave plates out or something. I'll be like,
You just got your pile.
yeah,
Just
totally.
yeah.
But it's just so many amazing moments too.
Yeah.
And
And then he's like-
choices.
And then there's like a homeless person in the background being like, yeah, I saw, one of them called them Slim. Like every tiny little
Yeah.
bit of it. Because that seems so realistic too, that it's like, of course, there's a guy living, he's got his TV, I think.
He does
You
have a
know?
TV. Yeah, he's got a setup.
And the slick thing is like the one piece of information they have because everything else is clean,
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what anyway, I don't know. I love it every time. It's one of those movies where like every time I see it, I do see something new.
Totally.
And sometimes, sometimes it's the music, sometimes it's the editing, sometimes, I love Pacino's performance. Pete and I were also talking about this the other day that I was like, that is also a directorial triumph because clearly they are in separate movies
Yes.
to some extent because they only have one scene together. So that must have been, Michael Mann must have really either thought about it or just been like, yeah, this is working. Like you are quiet and you're just going to go fucking nuts in every scene.
When there's something, because you were even saying like where it's like there is like neither one is a good man, neither one is a bad man. The bad man like is doing good stuff, and then the good man's doing bad stuff. But then there's also the whole time I was like, and maybe he did it on purpose, but the whole time I was like, oh, Al Pacino should be the bad guy and Robert De Niro should be the good guy, like should be the one
The cop,
trying to,
or-
the
yeah.
cop. And I was like, oh, how interesting that my brain keeps like doing that. But maybe it's because of the performance that they were both doing.
I do think they also somewhat look similar, like similar
Yes.
suits. I think that's must be on purpose.
It has to be.
Yeah.
But I was like, just like how big Al Pacino was and how soft he was. I was like, oh, I would think it
And
would be
I wondered
reversed.
how that casting took, like, how did, why? I don't know if it was like the actors gravitating to one role versus the other, or if Mann knew that from the beginning. I don't
would
know.
be so curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody was like, this is the part I want to play.
Yeah.
Because I was like so fascinated. Because I love Al Pacino, but I'm new to him.
Yeah.
And so I'm really happy I got to see this
Yeah.
movie.
But you're a Dog Day guy.
I
A Dog
love
Day Afternoon
Day.
is like
Oh,
my all-time favorite
I
movie.
love that movie. so
Yeah,
much.
it's so good.
I could have also picked that for this.
Oh
watched
my
that.
gosh, it's unreal.
It's just the ending is so damn sad.
The
I
whole
can't
thing.
the
take
whole
it,
thing. I go like, and just Al Pacino. I feel like he's an actor like Tilda Swinton or even like Elle Fanning, where I'm like, the things you're picking at a time.
Unbelievable, right?
It's crazy what you're bouncing back from, but then also you are circling this masculinity thing in an honest conversation.
totally.
And not just like, oh, what the ideal male is, but like the honest conversation of like what it is to be male.
You
I
made
think
Cruising.
that's a really good point about him too, specifically because he's also in another movie that I love called Sea of Love. Do you guys know that?
No.
movie?
I have never seen it, but I know. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely problematic in the way that those movies were, in particular, about homosexuality. So there's that. Like, again, I don't know how you all deal with that. I always feel like, there's always, it's like, oh yeah, here comes the scene where they beat up the woman, or
I think it's
or
that-
blame it on the gay guy,
Yeah.
or whatever. And yet, I can also be like, and these other things are really good about the movie, right?
Yeah.
But in that movie, it's him and Ellen Barkin. It's super sexy and
Yeah.
real. I think she's amazing. And there's a scene in which she like puts him up against the wall and they're making out, and he is totally like her bitch.
Like submissive, yeah.
And he just like completely submits to it in a way that
Yeah.
I was like, I don't imagine what leading man now would do that.
Yeah.
And he's so sexy in doing it, and she's like, "Yep, I got you," and he's like, "Okay," and
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
Again, it's like those conversations. I just go like, we need more people than just like white men to be making movies, because
Yeah.
then we'll be getting different perspectives,
Yeah,
choices from like
Absolutely.
people. But I'm like, in the vein of those movies being made by said men, I'm like, it's interesting the choices he is often make, because I'm just like, oh yeah, I wouldn't have guessed you would have picked these movies.
Mm-mm.
yeah.
Of being like, but I will say this might be my favorite Robert De Niro movie.
Really?
Yeah.
It's I think it's
Interesting.
up there for me with
Yeah.
him. It's one of the. It's also such a long movie. You can really see the performance
Yes.
and him coming, because even like the way he turns on her when she first talks to him in the bar or whatever they are.
It's like,
He's like,
lady, why do
Why
you
are you
care what I
asking
do?
"Lady," I think. Why are you asking so many questions,
No,
lady?
it was so crazy.
Yeah, you're like, whoa. I mean, he's so good. Also, Danny Trejo in the movie.
Yeah, it's his first movie.
Well, it's his name. His character is his name.
It's Trejo, yeah.
And I was like, there's no way, because I heard the name first, and then I saw him, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
I was
Yeah.
obsessed with when the scene where they're all like deciding to recommit if they should like go for the heist, and everyone's like giving these long drawn out things of like why they want to do it, and he's like, what? He's like, yeah, fuck it, I'm in. And I was like, what a good line read. It's
Yeah.
like in front of these like huge actors. He's like, oh fuck it, what else am I gonna do?
Wait,
It's
I
like,
love that.
And then the last scene with him is just
Oh
so
my gosh.
sad.
unbelievable. I mean, it's a heartbreaking movie in every
Oh,
way.
for sure.
Yeah.
I was like literally texting Soph, being like, I'm sobbing. I'm sobbing
Yeah.
at my front. I work at like a yoga studio, and I was like watching during like the breaks, and I was like, I'm sobbing. It was crazy how it got me.
I know. And I
Um,
would argue too, like Al Pacino's like crazy performance. If it wasn't so wackadoo, I don't know how rewatchable this movie would be.
Yeah.
Because like you start watching and you're like, this is so silly, and then by the end of it, you're like, oh, I'm heartbroken by this whole thing. But like it takes you on a ride. But like it's because it's almost like not light in places, but like almost like slapstick in places where it's like this is out of control.
He's definitely going out there, and I don't know. I have this conversation a lot, not just about Pacino, but in general, in terms of actors really taking risks, right? Because
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're talking about. And that's why when I was like, I'll fight anybody, it's because I feel that like if we don't allow people to take risks, then we're never going to get performances like that. And
100%.
within
Exactly.
that, it's like, sure. So maybe in a couple of places we think he's too much or whatever it is. I mean, I actually think he's great in the
I
in
wouldn't
the
change a
movie.
thing.
Also because I believe that cop would be coked up and out
Yeah.
of his mind. So
Yeah.
it totally works. But I think if we're not allowing for that, then we end up with like a bunch of bland fucking movies where everybody's like really
Totally.
contained, and and again, maybe that works for the part that you're playing, but not every single part is like that. And
Yeah.
I kind of miss that in acting now.
It
you
didn't
know?
bother me at all, especially
No.
because this man committed to the thing.
Yeah.
So he doesn't drop it, doesn't wink at it. I felt the same way about all three of them. Like Val Kilmer, there is no wink. Like I'm like, he's really there.
I
like
love Val
all of
Kilmer.
these, they are all really doing the thing they're doing.
Yeah.
To where sometimes I feel like people will make big character choices, but then almost wink at the camera. And I'm like, don't just be. And I fully didn't at all. I was like, it was all perfect. It got me engaged. It got
That's
me
great.
locked
Also,
into
that
him.
you had never seen it, so
Nothing.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting.
So I had no
Yeah.
expectations for any of it. But then the only thing when I heard, and she's got a great ass, I went, I've
You're
heard
like,
that
"Oh, that's
before.
where that is from."
But also, like to our earlier discussion about like taking things out of writing, it's like if you had had a shot of him like doing coke in the car before he's going into it, it's like you'd be like, okay, whatever. But like just seeing it happen,
Right.
you're almost in the seat of the person being interviewed, being like, like it puts you in that place. So
It's the subtext. It's,
Yes.
it's absolutely. And I think that's what De Niro is also doing. Both of them are. Yeah, it's like it doesn't need to be said. It doesn't need to be spoken. They're playing that part,
Right.
fully.
And you're also right that like there's all these moments, the way they move I think is really interesting. Like all of them. Like there's that after the first heist when they're at the diner. I think they're all there, and then I was like, why are they all moving? And it's because De Niro's character is coming in.
Yeah.
They kind of like make space for him, and then he bashes that guy's head in. I love that too. Like I think that's amazing because they're all like, anyway, back
Yeah,
to
I
business.
love that.
And that guy
yeah.
knows exactly what's up, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, what a great fucking bad guy. Like,
No,
don't you
truly.
hate that guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Wayne
Oh,
Grow.
yeah.
Yeah. It's that part's so good where like he bashes him and then the guy looks up from his paper and Tom Sizemore gives the look and the guy just puts his head back down
So
in his
it's like
paper.
a
And it's like
dance.
I
The whole
ain't
movie
is
fucking with this
so-
guy.
It
yeah.
did feel
Choreographed.
like that. And
Yeah.
the fact that it's 3 hours, it felt very like smooth. Like it didn't
Mhm.
jerk me around at all. Like I
Yeah.
was like, oh, you're in total control.
Yeah.
But I think that's to the filmmaker.
I know. Well, also to the credit of the studio, he said he submitted it a 3-hour cut, being like, "This will get trimmed down." And the studio watched, and they're like, "Perfect. Like you don't have to change anything."
Oh, I
Wow.
love that.
Where now, no way,
No
no half. This would be
Although
2
so
hours.
many movies now are so long, I think without needing to.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Like I think Heat is, there's actually a reason why we're taking so long with it, and
Mhm.
also, yeah, batshit crazy like Tom Noonan's character
Mhm.
on a wheelchair. I mean, there's just so much
Oh, yeah.
detail and interesting. I mean, it's so you're like,
No, it's
wow,
lived
every
in.
choice, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's lived in.
Right?
Like it feels like it was like a very thoughtful.
Like he's talking about
Movie.
what is he talking about?
Like the
Neurons
internet.
and- yeah, particles traveling through the air or something. You're like,
It's all
uh-huh,
out there.
that guy.
Yeah. Performance of a lifetime.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
Thank
truly.
you. This
Where-
is super fun.
Where can people find you if they want to find you?
Home.
Yeah. Same.
I guess my Instagram, but I have a ridiculous handle that was an old nickname that my Spanish friends gave me called Supervives, which was supposed to be like a Mexican wrestling name.
Mm-hmm.
But now sometimes I'm like, do people think that I'm being like, yeah, I'm super cool?
No,
I don't think it reads that way.
Mm-mm.
It does
Anyway,
not read
my
that way at
handle's
all.
Supervives.
Never
It is-
change
Perfect.
it.
We're gonna tag you down below,
Mhm.
and then we end every podcast with a quote, a media quote that you want to leave the people on.
Can I just say
Yes.
for me, the sun rises and sets with her.
Okay.
So beautiful and romantic.
Beautiful
Perfect.
and
Val
romantic.
Kilmer, we lost him too soon.
love
I
Val
know.
Kilmer.
I really. Well, and we could talk forever.
I know.
'cause- Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.